This one's a little late, but we're going to talk about Trap. Let's do it. Here we are. We've just had a new release from acclaimed director M. Night Shyamalan, or once acclaimed, depending on who you are. Some of you might say once acclaimed director with his effort, The Sixth Sense. And others might say the much maligned director, or the hit or miss director, whatever you want to call it, whatever you think about M. Night Shyamalan's work. I think one thing is clear. I think one thing has to be respected. And that is that no matter what film he's offering, you can be sure it's going to be unique. And it'll have some edge. One thing I think it's endlessly admirable about M. Night Shyamalan and his work is that he's not afraid to take risks with the narratives. Sometimes those risks pay off and sometimes they don't. In the case of this movie, Trap, you might say that ultimately the risks, well, some pay off and some don't. I'll explain what I mean. So at this point, you've likely seen the movie or you've heard a lot of opinions about this film. I'm not going to rehash any of those. I'll simply state my opinion and then you take it for what it's worth and watch the movie if you feel so inclined. I think it's definitely worth a look, but you make your decision. So Trap is the latest mystery horror from M. Night Shyamalan. Personally, I haven't seen all of his work. There are several of his films that I enjoyed, and others not so much. My favorite, I think, of his films has to be probably Split. I think that's just an amazing effort. I think more so because of James McAvoy. He gives a powerhouse performance, I think, in that movie. But I think what Night does that makes that movie great is allow McAvoy to do his work. He allows McAvoy to really bite into the characters that he's playing. And I think there's actually some really sound direction in that movie. I'm a fan of After Earth. Also, oddly, that's low on a lot of people's M. Night Shyamalan's filmography, like the movies that they appreciate about his work or don't appreciate about his work. But personally, and I think call it what you want, probably because I saw it over Father's Day weekend, and so it's a father-son story type situation, and maybe something about that hit me. But I also appreciated the execution. I liked that movie. So anyway, you get the idea. There's some movies I liked, others I didn't like. The Last Airbender, for instance, is another. I think there's a couple good things about that movie, and I've watched it one other time since I first watched it when it came out, and I think both times I was left disappointed. I still feel disappointed by that movie, and I think I was much more upset when I first saw it. Being a fan of The Last Airbender, Avatar: The Last Airbender, the show, it just felt like the movie did not do it justice, even in the slightest way, outside of visually. But that's one movie I didn't like as much. Traps falls somewhere. I don't dislike this movie. I do think there are some good things about it, but I will ultimately say that I feel like I had to suspend my disbelief too much with this movie for it to be, for me to call it, I think this is a great movie. I wouldn't call it great. That's my personal taste. But again, I respect the effort and I respect the uniqueness of this story. The premise on its own is worth paying attention to. You have a guy who you know going in is the villain. And a trap is set up for him at a concert. The idea being that he would be captured at this concert. So immediately you want to know what's going on. I wouldn't go so far as to say that you root for him as you see him trying to figure his way out of this predicament he finds himself in. But I would say that because there's such curiosity about how it's going to play out, that is what keeps you invested, or that's what kept me invested. I'll say some people will feel like they were placed in his shoes and they're rooting for him to figure a way out of the predicament. I don't know that I felt that way. I was more intrigued by, all right, he's at this concert. The trap is set for him. How is he going to get out of this? Is he going to get caught? And if he doesn't, how does he escape? So that was what got me. That alone is worth a look. What you find that is that there is a profiler, an FBI profiler, who is leading this operation in tandem with local law enforcement, staff at the concert venue, and security. All these groups are sort of set up in place to stop this guy, to catch this guy. Played by Josh Hartnett. He plays the butcher. But he's also a loving dad. And I think from a character standpoint, that's intriguing too. Humans are so interesting that there could be such dichotomy in it. You can hold dualities in one being. How this guy can be a notorious serial killer who's been killing people for like 7 years or whatever it is, and the doting father, the loving husband, the great community person, respectable fireman. It's worth a look just from a character perspective. It's and I think before I get that, I'll say that's another great element that made me curious about this movie. I wanted to see how the movie was going to reconcile all of that. Now, having seen it, I don't know. I think the ideas presented are solid. I don't know that the execution works 100% for me. So, as I say, you're at this concert and they're there to see the artist Lady Raven, played by M. Night Shyamalan's daughter, Shalika Shyamalan, who, by the way, was I thought pretty good as a musician, as a performer. The good stuff. Let's talk about the good stuff. So the concert I thought was well done. This looks like you're at a legit concert, and the not just the stage performances, the costumes, the lighting, but the set, like the actual setup of the concert was great. I felt like I found myself at this concert. This artist I didn't know. I was who's Lady Raven? Oh, whatever. Okay, she seemed like a perfectly credible modern day pop star, and everything around her was great. The backup dancers were fantastic. The set pieces for each song were great. The songs were solid, actually. Like they sounded like songs you might hear on the radio today. It was good. So Shalika did a good job. I understand she wrote and produced several songs for this movie, and they're solid enough. They work. They're good. So that element was very strong. I think the other thing that was strong about this movie was the acting overall. I'm singling out Josh Hartnett because big deal was made of him coming back into the lead position after being away for some time and sort of slowly making a comeback in recent efforts like The Bear. If you've seen him in Oppenheimer, last year's Oppenheimer, he's been popping up in different things, and this is kind of a big deal. He's sort of carrying this movie. He's carrying this movie, and easily he's one of the best things about this film. Next to the concert stuff, which I thought was sound, Josh Hartnett was great in this role. He really was selling the script and made me believe that he was this character. Another good idea that came up in the film was the notion of the FBI profiler. What's unfortunate about that thread is that there isn't really any connection between the two characters, between Cooper and the profiler, the criminal profiler person. I would have preferred if there was some history between the two characters that would have made her inclusion much more, I don't know, potent. But was what the other thing that was weird about that is that so she's noticeably older. Why is she in the field? It feels like she could have been there, but like been in a stakeout van, surveillance, doing some surveillance from a distance. Why did she have to be on the field? In the field. Whatever. I mean, she could have been. It just feels like that felt less realistic to me. That she'd be all in the mix. Like she could be there, but like in the thick of it. She was in the thick of it, which was questionable to me. But I feel like the movie drops the ball with that idea. The other thing is there's a school of thought that says once the film moves away from all the concert stuff, that it starts to lose momentum. And I don't know that I agree with that. Personally, I felt that it made the story feel more expansive and in an odd way, still intimate. Because there's an intimacy with the fact that this guy, Cooper, and his daughter are having they're having a father-daughter day, and it's really nice. So it feels you're connected to these characters. So there's already an inherent intimacy. And then when you start to expand and move to different locations, you get to meet more of the family. And then in that way, there's another layer of intimacy there because now you get to see Cooper's wife and you get to see his son and his home and get to see different bits about him that paint a picture, a more rich picture of this man. But there's a case to be made that you didn't need that because you're given everything you need to know about him. All you know, he's a killer, and he's a community. He's a family man, and the story then becomes about how is he going to be stopped, and how are they going to stop him. That's really it. That's what you got going on. Another thing I think that bothered me about the movie. It comes down to my biggest problems with the movie had to do with not that I had to suspend my disbelief, but how often I had to do it. That hindered a deeper level of enjoyment. I didn't like, if you've seen the trailers, this, the vendor being the exposition machine about setting up the parameters of the plot, really giving us the premise. That didn't feel realistic to me. I would have preferred that. It seemed that could have been shown to us by different shots. I think because you're already seeing Cooper looking around, noticing beefed up security. That already says so much. But I don't know if it's because modern day audiences are used to being handheld. That's a lot of the types of, it's not everywhere, but there are, most films today, it feels like there's not a lot of room to play with subtext, as if audiences are not going to be paying attention enough to catch the things that aren't spoken by characters. I prefer that kind of storytelling. It's nice when you're told certain things too, but I think more subtle storytelling can go a long way, because it also leaves room for the audience to feel, it feels more interactive. The audience can insert themselves and play along with what's going on. You can figure it out as the story is being told. You don't have to be told what's happening when it's happening. You can figure it out in real time almost as you're watching the story. I would have preferred that Cooper discovers that the security's beefed up for him and not being told that. But I don't know. That's my preference. But so I that's an example of one of the things that I had to suspend my disbelief for. But there are more examples of that, and I think that got in the way for me to enjoy the movie. of enjoying the movie. The acting overall, like I said, was good. Salika, at first, Salika Shyamalan was questionable to me. Some of her acting felt not as natural as everyone else around her, and at first that was a bit of an issue. And then I realized when you look at it, she seemed just like any other pop star who has to deal with real people off the stage. It almost feels like they're pop stars, artists, musical artists, some of them can come off stage and not feel comfortable because they're not performing. You are in an interview, you are talking to someone on the street, and so there can be some awkwardness, it feels like. And then when I thought about it from that lens, it bothered me less. Then in an odd way, it felt, in its unnaturalness, it felt more natural from the perspective of a performing artist who's most comfortable on stage and not as comfortable off stage. So in that way, it's oddly genius. I understand this is supposed to be like this movie was a vehicle for Salika's music, and I personally don't have a problem with that. I think that if you're telling a story around it, the idea of having to build a story around something like that, something as simple as the concept of like, oh, I want to make a movie for my daughter's music, and to execute it in this way, even though I don't think everything was executed in as good as it could have been for me, for my tastes, I still think that the effort was pretty sound. I think he told a pretty good. The story itself, while it has problems for me, I think ultimately it's a solid character piece, though. If you look at it just from Cooper, if this movie is about Cooper, and I think if you think about that going in, following Cooper in his journey, it's actually pretty solid. So take that for what you will. At the end of the day, this is M. Night Shyamalan. He depending on how you feel, this was not particularly a hit for me. It wasn't a miss either. I would say it was, it's okay. This was an okay movie. There's some good suspense in here, which I think Shyamalan was good at. He's good at building suspense. I don't know if it's maintained completely throughout the film. It felt inconsistent to me, but for the parts that it's there, it is solid. It's pretty sound. So I think if you haven't seen that by this point, give it a shot, because it will, if you're curious. I think I want to take this other minute. You've heard me say something about this, something like this before, in other videos about criticism. And I think particularly when I was talking about Sasha's Party and how much I didn't like that movie, I think I was still able to appreciate some things about it. So I think there's plenty of space to say if a movie doesn't work for you, doesn't mean it's not worth looking at. And I think the same is true for this movie. It wasn't my favorite, but I would watch it again, and I think it's still worth a look, because a lot of people got together to make this movie, and it's cool to see what people come up with. So if you haven't seen Trap and you're curious about it, give it a look. Let me know what you think. I'm going to leave it there for now. But thank you for watching this video. And we've got some more reviews coming up pretty soon. So I'm out of here. But in the meantime, take it easy. And I'll see you next time.